Good morning, folks. We've got a slew of interesting science coming up here, a sun-diving comet and storm reports as well. Let's get started, as always, over at spaceweathernews.com, and we find the last 24 hours on the sun without eruptive activity. But the northern active region sits behind the extension of the polar coronal hole, which is becoming more visible there now. While it's not a major solar wind stream, we do remain inside the weak coronal hole solar wind here, elevated from 2 days ago, but only up into the high end of normal range. Geomagnetic conditions are all in the green. Something of note, Venus comes between Earth and Sun in 2 days. We will see her glare wings diminish here as she does so, and you may not have noticed the little sun diver on the right. We'll show it again here. It can be seen disintegrating on the closer in C2 camera. Let's go to El Salvador, where that storm we looked at and said would hit hard for days wasted absolutely no time. The flooding has turned deadly and is quite obviously destroying a considerable amount of infrastructure. Situation not over yet. Let's kick off the science news with something fun for our eyes. They say the magnetism inside a ferroelectric particle resembles a Hopfion structure, which is mirrored across the scales of nature. Their video is super cool. Doesn't really seem to me to show the Hopfion structure, though, more like the evolving torus within, but either way, very cool magnetic science. Up next, we continue to see little moves in the right direction cosmologically. While most observers don't favor MOND or modified gravity, it is always nice to see them better perform an observational skit than the dark matter model. It helps that as they notice chinks in its armor, they are also coming closer to recognizing primordial magnetic fields, suggesting they can explain the magnetism that exists in the cosmic web rather than a filament dynamo action. That is important because it's really not all that different from the concept that Sophia and Alma have delivered from molecular clouds with star formation. The gravity doesn't control the collapse and the twist-up of magnetic fields. It is the magnetic fields and plasma turbulence that are determinative of the formation and evolution of the star formation within that cloud. Same thing with the cosmic web. Plasma turbulence, primordial magnetic fields. And while we're on this topic, a study has found that ignoring the impact of baryons in the cosmos is causing major biases in their cosmological constraints, including the cosmic microwave background. The biases in disagreement can reach 4 sigma, and their solution is to mathematically ignore the baryon content, which, I'll advise, is the same mistake cosmologists have been making for 40 years. Let's go to space weather here to close. The Czech power grid responds to all phases of the solar storm, the sudden commencement of the storm in the magnetic field, the induced current phase of the storm, and in the reverberation and global electric circuit phase of the storm. Interestingly, they say the power lines are vulnerable during the impact, and in the couple days afterwards is when the transformer anomalies occur. Folks, the Chinese and Indian studies on solar climate forcing are indeed outpacing those from the Western world. Most of them touch the monsoon, but here they are looking at centennial scales of temperature and grand solar cycles. Not shockingly, they find that over the last few thousand years, the grand maxima on the sun bring the heat, the grand minima bring the cold. And our top story: headaches, migraines, a paper fully and 100% debunking a nocebo causation with high-frequency emission. This is kind of a stamp on things like 5G locally and at a global scale, the reverberation of the magnetic field in HF and UHF when a solar storm occurs, caused by accelerating and reverberating electrons in the magnetic field, which is why the solar storm high frequencies are all across the atmosphere. We greatly appreciate your support. In addition to earthquakes and solar events, our disaster prediction app gives health alerts for those periods. Also has a health page with lots more information about what to expect when you see certain things on the sun. We've got your wind map forecasts and shots of our star to close, and of course we'll do this all again tomorrow, right here, but right now it's 5 a.m. in the new Valley of the Sun. Eyes open. No fear. Be safe, everyone.